Welcome to my video, and today we're gonna talk about cervical cancer. Did you know that one of the most common cancers is also one of the most preventable ones? In 2022, globally, around 660,000 women were diagnosed with cervical cancer, and around 350,000 of them died the same year, according to the World Health Organization. The countries most affected are allocated in Sub-Saharan Africa, Central America, and Southeast Asia, where the most relevant commonality between these countries is the inequality in access to healthcare, including vaccination, screening, and treatment services. But if it's such a common and studied cancer, why is there a persistent incidence? To explain this, we need to understand a few concepts. First, cervical cancer begins in the cervix, the lower part of the uterus. 70% of cervical cancers are caused by the two high-risk type of human papilloma virus, also known as HPV, where HPV-16 and HPV-18 are found. The most shocking part is that nearly all people who are actively sexual will become infected from papillomavirus or HPV, according to the National Cancer Institute of the United States. Most of infections will disappear on their own, and others could last years, potentially leading to cervical lesions. So what happens when HPV persists? When it does, it starts interfering with how cells control their growth. It is important to remember that our body produces new cells constantly, and even some of them die in a programmed way. However, it is important to recognize that HPV produces two proteins that basically turn off those brakes, which mostly affects the stop signs that many cells have to stop the multiplication of these cells, or affecting when the cells are allowed to divide. These consequences usually take years to develop into cancer. That long timeline gives us a huge opportunity to prevent it, which gives us hope and action. If detected early, cervical cancer is highly treatable in different ways, from allocated treatments such as cervical conization or traditional methods such as chemotherapy and radiation, and even immunotherapies, which have been one of the newest yet interesting approaches for cervical cancer treatments. So treatment is improving, but the treatment is not the real solution. Prevention is. Cervical cancer is one of the few cancers we can largely prevent. Approaches such as HPV vaccines, especially before any sexual contact, pap smear screening, and HPV testing are very helpful. HPV vaccination can reduce precancerous cervical lesions by more than 80% when given before exposure. Additionally, having a weak immune system, smoking, and breathing in secondhand smoke, as well as reproductive factors and obesity, could contribute to cancer in a long-term period. Yet globally, hundreds of thousands still die each year. Why? Because vaccines and screenings are not equally available. This is not longer mainly a biology problem. This is an access problem. Cervical cancer shows us something powerful. We don't just need better science. We need better systems to deliver the science we already have.